Sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. And Joe King Carter. There he is, sitting right next to me. Hi, everybody. If it's Wednesday and it's noon and you're listening to WMNF 88.5 right here in Tampa, you know what time it is. It's time for the conversation. And if you're listening on WMNF.org from any place you happen to be it London, England, and some people are listening to us there. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Or you're listening to us in Los Angeles, California, where it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Or possibly in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm going all over the map, y'all. It's still the conversation. And this is Wednesday, right? Wasn't that good?
That's right.
That was good.
That was good.
Thank you. So my name is Mario Nunez, as you heard in the intro. And I'm seated, as always, alongside my broadcast partner, Joe King Carter, who's sitting right here. He's smiling. He's ready to say something. Say something, Joey.
Well, you just went all over the world.
I did.
Hey,
welcome.
welcome.
Halfway around. I didn't go all the way into the, I didn't get to China or China.
Yeah, China. Welcome, everyone listening this afternoon. What a beautiful day it is outside.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
A little warm, but it's okay.
Well, and we come to expect that this time of year.
Yeah, that's it.
It is warmer than we would like, perhaps, because when you still look at the map out west in places like Denver, Colorado, which is where my son resides these days, and that Denver topography is so different with the mountains and the valleys, and it gets hot in the day and then it gets cool in the evenings. And by cool, I mean they were forecasted to have snow day before yesterday. Wow. I don't know what that means, Joey.
Wow.
The love bugs are out. Do you remember back in the day when the love bugs used to come out, Joey? What month was that? We could always count on the love bugs appearing in what month, Joe? Trick question.
September?
No, Joey. June. We knew it was love bug season.
June bugs.
No, June bugs are different. But these are love bugs. These are the ones that smash on your windshield and get on your car.
Yeah,
you better wash them off.
Yeah.
But they're here now. And my point is, it's mid-May. Mm-hmm. See how things are accelerating? See how things are heating up and moving up? The whole timeline, the whole sequencing. Okay, you guys, lean in because today's show is going to be a continuation of last week's show. And if anybody saw last week's show, how did you see it? Well, you could see it on Facebook. What a segue.
There
I just threw to myself. And what a recovery.
Was a segue.
No, that was a recovery because it was actually a faux pas. I meant to say if you heard us last week.
Yeah.
But I'm so quick, Joey, that I caught myself. You can watch us right now. You can watch us on Facebook live as we're coming to you live from my page, Mario R. Nunez. Go right there. Turn us on. You can see us. We've already got 12 people watching. I exaggerated that by about 10. But that's okay. And today's guest is a continuation of last week's conversation, which was highly educational, highly entertaining. And we met a new best friend. We're BFFs now, y'all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Joey,
BFFs.
Joey, give us a quick review of last week's show and again, reintroduce our guest.
Well,
our new BFF.
That's right.
Let me just say very quickly that we always, at the end of our show, I think pretty much say, that was not long enough. You've got to come back again. Well, this is a common comment. I think Mario specifically says it virtually every time. And there's a reason for that, because the guests are always fascinating. We have a great time. All kinds of wonderful stuff happens. However, getting people back again is not always easy.
It's a challenge.
Number one. Number two, we only have 52 slots a year. And, it's just sort of a limited process. But last week, we found ourselves in a place where we realized at the end of the show that we were just beginning to open up that little sardine can full of wonderful things. And was that a good metaphor? I don't think so.
No.
But the point is,
not at all.
We were opening up a can and was like, oh no, this is where we need to start the show. So we have invited back our guest, Meredith Clements, who is, and I have this in front of me to make sure I always have it right. She's an associate professor of speech and communication and speech studies at the speech department at the University of Tampa. She's also a member of the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Committee. Mm-hmm. And she is just a most interesting person. We had a great time last week. Now, we're not going to do with her today what we usually do, which is this nice, even, slow, where were you born, how did you begin? But I'm just going to jump in quickly and say that Meredith is a native Floridian. She grew up in Tallahassee and she's an introvert who's really an extrovert.
That's right.
And she took a series of course of academics outside of the state and ended up eventually here back in Florida in Tampa because of USF. And now she's an assistant professor at USF. Now that's the
well-traveled,
and well-informed and well-educated, and as my mother would have said, smart as a whip. And so here she is. We were talking about all kinds of things last week, but I want to sort of open my first question with this. We sometimes when we get people who are in academics here, we don't really delve into the feelings of all of this. And what I'd like to know is, I don't think we really delved deep enough into this last week, and it is this. As you left Florida and started going to these other colleges, which eventually led to your PhD, what was it at the feeling level, the attraction level, that made you want to study the things you studied?
Okay. All right. Meaning why study women's health?
Oh, well, but there's other things in there. Yes, but women's health, absolutely. Yeah, why?
Sure. Well, I guess we touched upon it a bit. I also have to say that I very much like sardines, so that opening up a can of sardines is okay with me. I'm probably the only person in this room that enjoys sardines.
No.
You like
Oh,
them?
yeah.
Well, they're good.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
salty.
They're good for you. They're good. No, they are.
They?
No, they are.
Oh, they're very good
They're
for you.
good, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
in fact, they're
omega-3s.
They're being touted
They're
as
just
a
in the
salty.
oil.
I feel like they have so much salt in them that they can't be good for you.
No, but they have a whole series of proteins and omegas.
See, then I'm in.
That are
Yeah,
really
no,
good
you
got
gotta be all in.
Now, I personally
Next
think.
time I'll bring you all.
Thank you.
Sardines.
I personally think they're gross.
With
and I
some
would never eat
dentine
them.
gum afterwards, because they're going to give you a zoo
Pretty
breath,
good.
as it were.
Yeah,
Zoo breath. I
not
don't know
good
what that
breath.
is, but it's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
But it tastes
Smells
good.
like a
They
zoo.
taste good.
Oh, no, and they're good for you.
See, there you go.
So there's another can of sardines.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
We cut it right off at
so-
sardines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the can of sardines we'll all eat together.
Thank you.
You don't have to eat them.
No.
But yeah, I mean, anyone who's listening who says I want to go back into academia, which probably are a good amount of your listeners, we're always thinking about future learning, and for me, it was that I was familiar with healthcare. I grew up in a family of a lot of academics. And both my mom and dad have PhDs, and then a lot of my cousins are physicians, and then just really interesting mentors in different fields of communication who said, okay, you realize this sect of women's and gender studies and this sect of healthcare can be merged. I mean, why not? So that's when I started studying women's health communication. And then also having Moffitt Cancer Center right on USF campus, I just, stumbled into that. And then Dr. Mian Shahzad is a really well-known GYN oncologist there, and he was one of my mentors who walked me through the soft side of cancer treatment, meaning the emotions of it and what his patients, what women have to endure outside and inside the clinic. And so we honed in on that, focused on the soft side of cancer care. And then it was just off to the races. I mean, I just fell in love with the idea of problematizing everything.
So early in your academic life, communications first grabbed you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you said, I remember that you came to USF in part because I was curious why you would come back from those great schools up in the Northeast, and now you're at USF.
Right.
I even said to
The program,
Mario, I was
yeah.
like, I couldn't quite grab why that was. And you said it had a lot to do with the people
Yes.
that were here, which
Right.
indicates that you knew in advance that the USF had this group of people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so yes. So it's really cute, actually. The first textbook that I read from cover to cover was written by a very well-known thinker named Eric Eisenberg. And I was assigned this textbook at the University of Alabama, fell in love with it. It's about organizational communication, how businesses form, and how we communicate within and outside of business structure. And then guess what? He's the dean of the USF communication school of the humanities with the communication departments within that.
I think that's called serendipity.
Isn't that great?
Kismet, what does Kismet mean? I think it might be Kismet. Too.
Yeah, so there you go. But I mean, also, communication as a field is relatively new. I mean, it's only been around since about the 70s, and it came out of Europe, and then it came into the United States eventually. So you're standing on the shoulder of giants. You have sociology, psychology, history, all of these different fields that are quite old compared to communication. So if you're interested in the mundane and complicating the mundane, which you all do on this show, like you take the mundane everydayness of life and you complicate it through more mundane conversations about complicating the mundane. I mean, it's not. It's
No,
like
it is. It's like those Chinese
walk.
finger cuffs. You get in there and
Yeah.
you can't get out, but it's that house of mirrors, because the more questions we ask, the more questions are asked as a
And this is
result.
because
Yeah, that's right.
everybody's story is interesting,
Yes.
isn't it?
It is.
Really,
It
if you
truly-
can, you just need to figure out how to access it, right?
Right.
So go
That's
ahead.
true. You
Yeah.
also, I think, have to be okay. You have a couple things. One, I think you have to be okay with not doing some kind of earth-shattering finding, and that you're all right with like the slow-moving iceberg, because there's patterns in the everydayness of life. Like among everyone in this room, there's something that we all have in common. And then there's unique outliers within our personalities or our lived experiences that make us all unique. So it's cool because you're within a structure of society and you're stuck within it. And Anthony Giddens writes about this. It's called structuration theory. So you're stuck within the structure that makes you perform to certain rules, norms, and expectations. And yet you're also empowered by that structure to change it. So if I get hit by a car in your parking lot and die on the way, here, that would be very sad, but the world will continue moving. And like all the norms of this radio show will continue on. And yet at the same time, I really do believe that just being here today talking with you creates some type of change. So it's like the world and society continues on with or without me. And yet there are change agents. There's opportunity for everyone to challenge structure, reinforce it, and change it in whatever way that they see fit. I mean, if not, why live?
I'm not sure that I was ready for that analogy, because it kind of took me
The
back.
parking lot?
Yeah, I saw you in the parking lot laying there, perhaps even bleeding out a little bit.
Yeah, well,
and it made me very sad.
It'd be internal, but mostly.
Yeah.
But it would be sad, for the graphic nature, maybe like a little bit out
Tear?
of the ear.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
and
oh,
a
yeah.
tear would fall.
She was going for impressing us with the extreme metaphor.
Well, and I also think that you would really have to drive a donation collection after that, and all of it would go to the show.
What a beautiful
right?
segue.
I mean, you'd have to for
Because
the sake
in a
of
couple of
learning.
weeks, we're going to be bumping up against that door, that door that opens about every quarter here.
Money.
Yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to be talking about that very shortly.
Yes.
But I wanted to bring also the conversation. What a great name for a radio show. I wanted to bring this conversation back to where we kind of left off last time. Meredith, we left off with the 3 M's.
The 3 M's.
And it fascinated me because we talked about, and the 3 M's are menstruation, maternity, and menopause.
Right.
And why are we talking about that? Because it's important, and because a lot of times we don't talk about those things, or if we do it in very small circles. It's an aunt to a niece, or a mother to a daughter, sometimes in a professional setting in a classroom. But here we have you in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
And there's only about 7 or 8 people out there listening. So for those 7 or 8,
there's a lot of more than 7 or 8.
Thousands.
Yeah, right.
Thousands. We know the WMNF reaches into about 7 counties here in West Central
Right.
Florida.
Right.
And they will stay with us all day long. So to those people, why don't you pick up the conversation there and make that a piece of
And let me just say, let me add one thing to that. I was thinking about this. I was thinking a lot about this after our show last week. And I was thinking about the idea that we, as a culture, we don't do really well with death. We don't do really well with mental illness. And we don't do well with women's health.
No.
And the reasons I think that might be is because there's a fear. People apparently fear death. Even though it is a completely natural process that we all are going to go through and everybody has ever gone through, we have an anxiety and fear about it, number one. Mental illness. We fear that even though Your gallbladder goes bad, you get it fixed, you're okay with that. Your brain goes bad, your mind goes bad. Oh, that's scary, that's weird. I don't know what that's about. The thing is that it's just a natural thing that happens to humans. I know someone right now who's been just diagnosed with schizoaffective disorders, and I've been seeing it happening in her life. And she can get fixed. She can get some help. And then the final thing is that this thing about women's health. 1/2 of the human population are female, and yet I know that in this conversation, this man sitting next to me and I are probably going to learn something about menopause, because it's this weird topic that people sort of shy away from.
Or as I like to refer to it, men on pause. Okay, we're gonna yield the mic now for a minute, and we'll delve into what Joey was just mentioning.
Yeah, that was
first.
interesting.
Yeah, it was very much so, but that's another strand of this conversation. Maybe we'll do that when we come back after the break in a few minutes. But take us down the course of the 3 M's, make it relevant, and make us understand what it is we need to know about these 3 very important things that happen to all women.
Okay, so just to recap, the 3 M's are the lifespan of a woman. So you have menstruation, maternity, and menopause. And even if you're not pregnant, that maternity section of your life is infertility or the decision to not have children, or that you are getting pregnant. So that's the second M. And then you also have, obviously, menopause. And then I guess the little PM between those two is perimenopause. So that's around your 40s. It can be 35 or all the way into like 45. But that's, pretty awful because no one talks about it too. So you're just thinking
very real,
and unfortunately, and then the side effect management usually happens more toward the menopausal stage. And I guess if we're going to just jump into it, which I appreciate, one of the reasons why the third M, menopause, is not discussed is because, and this is my biased opinion, the WHI, the Women's Health Initiative study that was published, it came out, this study, you could say around like 2003, 2005, it was shut down because it was so egregious and dangerous to have a study producing such terrible results. Now that's their opinion.
Qualified terrible results.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and what do you mean by shut down?
Yeah, exactly. This is a really cool case study. I said it that way so someone could lean in.
So we just jumped in and cut you right off. But sure.
No, I wanted that. Thank you, because I'm thinking, I hope people are saying, "What does she mean? What's so terrible?" All right, so the WHI study was to track women, over 100,000 women, so it's a strong sample size of women who were supposed to be menopausal or perimenopausal, that to see how they reacted to hormone replacement therapy, so HRT. All right, it was so terrible, in their opinion, in the researchers' perspectives, that they shut down the study because women were experiencing, again, this is their report, I don't agree with it, patients were experiencing higher risk rates of breast cancer and higher cardiovascular issues. So, oh my gosh, stop taking the hormone replacement therapy because you're at, who wants to get breast cancer or have heart issues? Stop with the HRT.
At 45, yeah.
Correct. Okay, so the study was shut down. Then they had a press release, which that's pretty wild. And everyone came on, oh my gosh, we got to shut this down for the good of the patients. It created absolute hysteria in the medical field. And I mean hysteria in that the physicians were thinking, oh my gosh, I can't treat women with their menopause. We just have to frame it as a natural cycle. Because if I treat them with this, I'm actually do no harm. My gosh, I might increase their rate of cancer. Right. All right. Turns out that study is quite flawed. It is wrong, and that study put the progress of women's health, specifically menopause and menopause care, backward. So we are 20, 25 years behind where we should be.
Wow.
And again, I'm in the soft side, and I'm in health communication, so I want to study things like information seeking, side effect management, coping, relational issues. And then the hard scientists, they want to study the actual
biology.
Biology, correct. Bone density, fatigue, sexual wellness. all of it, sarcopenia, all of these issues, we are so far behind. And then if you think about 20 years, that is a whole generation of women who just suffered in silence because anytime they sought out help, the doctors would say, hey, I don't know what to tell you because I was trained that, do you want to get breast cancer? Of course not. So there's nothing I can do for you.
When you said, Meredith, when you said behind, is that because of the American standard is now behind the European standard? Who's leading the way in this research?
Okay, so we are behind. Yes, to answer your question, the United States is certainly behind, but I think the entire globe is behind because that study was so wildly accepted in terms of its claim that we were hurting women with hormone replacement therapy, that it trickled into every aspect of women's health across the globe.
Was it warranted? Was it warranted? Was the hysteria or the immediate stoppage of it warranted, or did they not give that enough time? Was the sample size big enough? Did they not give it enough time to play out?
The sample size was large enough. The age of the patients was flawed. Most of the average age was 63 or 65 years old.
Older.
So the women were a little bit too old for that study. And then the actual estrogen that they were treating patients with was dated, meaning that it wasn't the best form of estrogen that we would now use. It's actually from pregnant horse urine, that type of estrogen. That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Well, those three words I
feel like
don't
you
hear
should
too
ring
often.
the bell for
Yeah,
that one.
I know. Thank you. I was on my way to the bell because we don't usually hear that in the same sentence. Pregnant horse urine.
That's the
ladies
name
and
of a
gentlemen.
band. That's the name of a band. Pregnant Horse Urine.
Yes.
Meredith did the best.
Should be, yeah,
It should be,
yeah.
but it'd have to be a rock band.
Oh, yeah,
hard rock.
Not
yeah, it's
like-
kind of a hard
rock.
Maybe
Yeah.
a country, maybe like a Allman Brothers derivative.
I don't know. I don't. That's too soft. That's
no,
too
it's
soft.
got to be heavy
You're
metal.
banging. Yeah, you're banging.
Heavy
You're
metal,
banging.
okay.
Or
Head
emo.
banging.
All right.
Yeah,
Definitely.
But I mean, really, just to bring this home, though, the study was flawed. I do think that the scientists who issued it obviously had the best intentions. But holy cow, did it create a massive... And going back to the United States, we really are some of the agents of change to speak for the globe. And so that...
Or we used to be.
Well, that's true. We used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
that could
another
be a
show.
whole
That's
nother
another show.
That's another
right?
show.
Right?
Yeah.
But we still need to act like we are.
Yes,
okay,
of
here's
course,
the deal.
of course.
Everyone at this table, me included, should still perform as though we have massive responsibility and a massive metaphorical microphone for the world because this is women's health. This affects every single person on the globe. Mm-hmm. So here we go. So this study put women back. Now we have a new generation of women who, not my generation, the one in between, who's starting to say this is absurd. Like what happened?
Right,
I mean,
right.
we got to advocate for ourselves. I can't sleep in a puddle of sweat.
What
all
about
night.
us? Yeah, what about us?
And also, some patients say, listen, this concept, this dialogue about increasing my rate of cancer, I'm willing to take that risk,
Right.
given my low quality of life.
Right.
And then also, here's the other issue, and then I'll pause for a minute. But the concept of risk has to be unpacked because, from a communication scholarly perspective, what do you mean by risk? Is it associated risk? Is it relative? Is it absolute? So again, go back to that hit by a car analogy. If we all stand in the parking lot at the same spot, like that, we all have the same risk.
Same risk.
Okay, if you are under the rate of maybe getting cancer because your family had more breast cancer versus you did not have more higher rate of breast cancer, then we are different patients within that study.
Right.
And the hormone replacement therapy for me should be a conversation. So everyone was treated equally. It was just a massive
It sounds to me
issue.
like
Yeah.
it's too nuanced to be able to throw
Yeah.
that blanket over everybody and put everybody in the same category, what you're
Right.
referring to.
And the other
Right.
thing that's cool about this conversation with Meredith right now, right here, is that as an academician, what she's pointing out is that she's making us think about studies because studies are, here's what is, I have a good friend who is he's a doctor of physiology at Rutgers. And his wife has a PhD in chemistry. These are two big brain friends of mine. And, I'll ask them about some physiological medical thing. And I get like, everything.
You
that
get the Journal of Medicine.
Everything that is being talked about by the talking heads on your reels and social media, they're like, oh, no, Joe, that's crazy. And so my point is this. to really get the information, you have to go to these peer review studies. But here's what you're saying: a study.
Could be flawed also.
What's famous, there's a famous,
Right.
I'm sure you know about this, I just don't have the details, but there's a famous study on Alzheimer's in which they had all this information about what we should be doing for Alzheimer's, and they found out that the study was completely wrong.
No, I don't know about
Oh, yeah,
that.
because the guy that was managing the study was virtually doctoring the results
That's
to
terrible.
support his thesis. So, and this was like an NIH, I believe, study or a Mayo Clinic or something like that. So here's my point. What you're saying is fascinating because that study, just think of the harm that was done by that.
Right. That's right.
And how we can now correct it.
We can now correct it. That is true. And I think, again, going back to that generation of women who are now also, they're celebrities. So you can now have women who are advocating for themselves and other women, and they have a massive platform, also thanks to social media. So you have folks like Drew Barrymore, Selma Hayek. So you have that age group. Michelle Obama's come out to talk about menopause. This is massive because you say, okay, well, if they're talking about it and they are sex symbols, they're power symbols, they're owning their own business, etc. Role models, I guess, if you will. They have the same issues that I do, and I thought I was losing my mind. So if they are, then I can talk about it too.
This sounds like a great place to just kind of pause for a second. Pause seems to be the operative phrasing today because we're talking about menopause and pausing for commercial identification, station identification. When we come back, we'll reintroduce our guest and get a little bit deeper into women's mental health.
You're listening to Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. This is The Conversation with guest Meredith Clements on WMNF 88.5 FM. Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater.
You got to love that. You
Wow,
got to
that
love
was-
that because when
I went off script a little there.
No, we love it. We love it. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the voice of our own engineer-producer, Jessica Green.
Yes.
Who
Thank you,
just,
Jessica.
She doesn't speak. She's like E.F. Hutton. She doesn't speak too much on the microphone, but when she does, people lean in and listen because she's got a lovely, lovely voice.
Presence.
And her presence. And you can hear her sometimes because she does sit in and do her own shows
Presence.
from time to time. So thank you for doing that,
And
Jessica.
unlike you and I, she's quite rational.
And thank you also for saying that. Speak for yourself, John.
Yeah.
And thanks also for elucidating the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Tri-City area because that will be another show that we'll delve into one day. Maybe we'll bring Meredith back to talk about that because this whole Tampa Bay thing has stuck in my craw for a long time.
Yes, yeah.
Let me reintroduce our guests. We're listening today to the lovely voice of Miss Dr. Meredith Clements, who is a professor at the University of Tampa. She knows so much about so many things, but today she's here to tell us what she knows about women's health, in particular mental health, and in particular communication as it relates to all of that. You know, Joey
right.
and I, we sit in a unique perspective because we're both men.
Yeah.
And we know little to nothing about these things that Dr. Clements is telling us about today, although we know a little more.
And that's a whole nother subject.
A little more
yeah.
than the average bear, because Joey and I we are empathic men. We do value women in our lives, the women that have raised us, the women that have left their mark on our hearts and our bodies and our spirits.
Yes.
So I think Joey and I are closer to the mark in this conversation. We see you there, caller. Please stand by. We're going to get to you in just a couple of moments. I will give you that phone number now if you have a question for Meredith and you'd like to ask. That phone number is 813-239-9663. You can send us a text at 813-433-0885. Emails always welcome. And if we get lucky, maybe Jessica will read one or two of those for us in her beautiful dulcet tones. That's dj@wmnf.org. And again, you're listening to Dr. Meredith Clements.
So let's hear more from Meredith on where we were left off.
All right. So we have the concept of information seeking, right?
Right.
And I think that we need to honor, even though we are on, and I prefer traditional mediums like the radio, we do have to honor the fact that we are seeing a lot of change in women's health because of femtech. So that would be FEMTECH. So fem or feminine technology.
Feminine technology,
Yeah,
sure.
there you go. There you
I
go.
love it.
And how would you define femtech?
All right, so that
Podcast
would
by
be,
women, for
in my
women.
opinion, it is technology geared for women, perhaps by women, that leans into new media landscapes.
I love that.
But that also means not just social media. We're
Right,
talking about
right.
trackers, apps. So get out of the information seeking, like, oh, I see myself as Michelle Obama. I see myself connected to Drew Barrymore. That's something that's called a parasocial relationship, where you see yourself represented in
Interesting.
someone, and then you think, and it's really takes off. It's always been around, right? Nothing's
Right.
new. Nothing's new.
Right.
But in social media landscape, it's really it's more intoxicating, because you really can follow like what everyone eats in a day. So imagine that with menopause. So like what I wear, how I sleep, what do I supplements do I take, what HRT do I do? Maybe I completely disagree with Meredith, and the WHI study's gonna, we're all gonna get cancer if we, try to help ourselves. So there's a lot of parasocial relationships unfolding in the landscape of menopause and information seeking. And I used to think that was a little gray and strange. And now I think it's gray and should be,
Less strange.
but it's not as strange in terms of creepy. And I think it's actually
should be
useful.
explored.
Yeah.
I think it should
Yeah.
be explored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of healthiness in that. But however, know that the concept of parasocial relationships, obviously, this is a one-way street. Like Drew Barrymore does not necessarily have your best interests at heart, but she certainly is also not trying to harm you. I don't think anyone in healthcare is trying to get you necessarily, but they certainly can accidentally.
Sure. Right.
Accidentally. I mean, remember that guy who did the EpiPen and it went from like $100 to $500?
Yeah.
Well, that guy, there's always an
He
exception
deserves
to the
to
rule.
be.
He was just trying to
He
get
deserves to be hit with several hundred EpiPens at the same time.
Yeah, that
we
was
do
wild.
have a call.
Predatory.
No
Wait,
one
wait.
wants a parasocial relationship with that guy.
Thank you, and drive through. So we're going to go to the phones now and talk to our guest who's been waiting. We think we know who this is. Actually, we definitely know who this is. This is our dear friend Annie Ellis, calling us all the way from Virginia, because that's where she lives and that's where she listens to the show. Annie, we love you. Hello, what say you?
Hey, you guys, good to hear you, and love that you were able to get her back on. I listened to the show last week, and I'm like, yes, this would be a miracle if you could continue this conversation.
Oh, that's
but
great.
I did there.
That's great.
So I wanted to just say that when you were talking about how that study was made, and it was telling everybody it was, terrible, people were going to get cancer, blah, 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 and it was a bad study, my brain just lit up. My mother would have been 102 today, December, and she died at 94, and she took hormone replacement therapy her entire life as
Wow.
soon as she started feeling it. And she was very healthy, wonderful mind, as sharp as a tack. She fell, and that's what happened. She never came back from the fall, but she, they did the hip replacement, but it didn't, her brain was just gone. She had one kidney, so that was a contributing factor. But she did go to a doctor. She had to go to a new doctor. I guess their insurance changed or something. And the nurse told her, she said, he's not going to give you hormone replacement therapy. You should be taking that. And she said, well, then I guess I'll have to go to another doctor. And that was my mother. She was going to do whatever she knew was right for her body. So I'm just so thrilled that you brought that up, that study was malarkey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Annie. By the way, everyone, Annie is one of the co-hosts of the Sustainable Living Show on Mondays.
At 10
so
a.m.?
she's not just a listener; she's a
programmer just like us.
volunteer contributor.
That's
And
right.
So great to hear her voice,
And a smart cookie with a green thumb. I'll just tell you right now.
and an amazing woman and one of my dearest friends. And I miss not having you in Tampa, baby.
I miss not having you guys around me, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm thrilled to be able to hear you on the radio.
And you as well, by the way.
And
so.
if you're not careful, you could just tune in and watch us too. If you miss seeing our smiling faces, there we are. I'm looking at us right
I
now.
actually do both. But when I called in, I have to take it off the screen, and then I go to just phone.
So let me say
all the media.
before we let you go, Miss Annie, I just want to say this, and I want to go on record as saying this. Martha Stewart ain't got nothing on you, baby, okay?
Oh, you know what? My friends always used to call me. Y'all never did it, but other friends used to call me Martha with an edge.
Well, listen, you keep listening, you keep calling in, and we appreciate you being there for us.
Thank you, Annie.
Love you, too.
I love you.
Thank you, baby.
you.
Bye-bye. That's our dear friend Annie Ellis
Yes.
calling all the way from Virginia. So we have people
So-
listening to us all over.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. That's really neat.
So go ahead, continue.
I mean, so Annie's point about her mom.
I'm trying to get as
is-
much of you in this show as I
No,
can.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot more interesting people in the circle. But anyway, I appreciate you saying that. But the case of Annie's mom is very rare. And it's cool to hear that there are people like that who advocated for themselves, especially women. I mean, all of us, men, women, whomever, we have a power dynamic when we go into the clinic. And I mean, there's psychology studies that show this, like the white coat concept, where you just kind of follow the advice.
You defer to them.
You defer to them. That's,
Because they got
that's
the
why
coat
they
on
went to
and the
school.
stethoscope around their neck.
Right.
What is that all about?
Yeah.
Is that a Halloween outfit, or is that for? There's a reason they call it the practice of medicine. I don't know. What does that mean? Hell, they're just practicing.
We're just practicing here. I mean, actually, that would be very funny for a doctor to say, or that'd be a funny cartoon. But anyway, so I mean, the idea of advocating for yourself, seeking out extra care, that's really rare, and it's cool to see that you could continue that that story on as a legacy that Annie and then the rest of Annie's family and all of our listeners could perhaps inherit, which is just because you hear information from physicians or a
Yes.
study, that is perhaps true, but truth with a lowercase t. There might be multiple truths that exist.
We've got some callers calling in, Joy, and I just
Okay.
want to say before I'm going to go to the callers now because the phones are actually lighting up, which is
Okay.
wonderful. I think one of the phrases that hurt us the most, and you tell me if I'm off base, Meredith, was when they started to use at the end of a television commercial about pharmaceutical drugs. And you know where I'm going with this. You'd hear the phrase, and I'm going to do it in my best radio voice. Ask your doctor if that medicine is right for you. Because then the next thing you know, you'd go in and go, hell, I got all those symptoms. That must be me. I'm going to go ask my doctor. And the next thing you know, the scripts are flying off his pad because, you know what I mean? It's like, that's a bad thing to
And
do.
also, real quick, I can tell you, having gone through the process, it's hard enough when you are faced with illness to
advocate for yourself.
To advocate for yourself.
Correct.
But you really have to advocate for yourself. And my doctor, who has a great sense of humor, I'm always challenging him in the office, and I say to him, "Hey, doc, I'm just trying to keep you straight on this." You know what I'm saying? But you have to advocate, and it's hard.
Yeah, it is
Right,
very difficult.
right.
And I'm sure, particularly in the cultural, all of the stuff about women in our culture, it's probably 1/10 somehow harder for women because men put themselves, certainly male people in the medical system might put themselves in a position of authority. They think that they have the right to tell you this, and you don't know what you're
Or the
talking
experience.
about. I
Right.
don't know what you think about that.
Well, especially there's a lot of research in women's health on race too. So Black women have been completely mistreated in healthcare, especially when it comes to women's health and the second M. So
Why
the
is that not
maternity
surprising?
aspect. So
Yeah.
maternal
Sad.
death the rates are really alarmingly high.
That's sad.
Yes, it is. So there's certain stereotypes that exist in terms of pain management. And things like that are really serious. And then you obviously know that trickles into menopause and symptom management when folks are trying to advocate for themselves. But then also you don't really know what you don't know. So women, this idea again for Annie's mom to say, I will seek out another doctor, she's very confident. and
Way ahead of her
informed.
time.
Most people, I mean, me included, you just say, well, I guess that's it. That's the end of the road. There is hope, though. I don't want to just say, and in the end, we're all doomed. Here's the hopeful nature of
Get
this.
off that parking lot. Get out of the way. Meredith, get out of the way.
Yeah. Come back inside. All right, so here's the deal. The current medical school landscape we're approaching this concept of, and I just said approaching the concept, so it's not an active curriculum here, but they're approaching the concept of having to train medical students in all different facets of healthcare in women's health in a more serious manner in terms of devoting time to menopause symptom management within the curriculum. Because right now it is, in all seriousness, it is really scary because the physicians who are practicing right now, and I say physicians, it could be nurse practitioners, clinicians who are practicing right now, they were trained years ago in a system that said, do not approach this
Right,
HRT
right,
issue. And if
right.
you do, though, if and when you do, refer it out, because you don't want to get your hands into something that could hurt a patient, do you? And of course you'd say, no, I don't. My gosh. So then women are referred. And then again, you have to look at the gendered complexity of this. If I get a referral now, I'm 40, and I'm probably going to just let that referral die because I have to take care of everything all at once. And so the burden of symptom management for yourself, it kind of dissipates connected to the burden of your career and your family and perhaps other, like you said, other health issues. So you just continue to suffer in silence. Then the women who are actively in menopause, they then go to work and they are like, really having these issues of symptom management, and then the referral is what they base their entire quality of life on. And what if that referral doesn't go well? Mm-hmm. And then that's really the scary landscape. And I think that's where we go back to those parasocial relationships where you're like, okay, well, I'll find this information online. And that's kind of tricky because next thing you know, you could be buying different supplements online that aren't actually going to help you as much as you think.
Right. I'm guessing that, and we're going to go to the phones here in just a moment, but I'm guessing that, a little bit of gallows humor, I'm guessing that it was probably a good thing that in the 1800s, the 1700s, the 1600s, we didn't live as long as people because we didn't get to the point where you lived into your 40s, 50s, 60s, yeah. And these issues of perimenopause and menopause came about. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't get there, so it wasn't a thing. This is probably as a result of us having better nutrition, better medicine, and us living longer, that these issues have exposed themselves. But we have to be sensitive to them, y'all, because, again, Joey alluded to it at the top of the show, half the world's population is female, and half the world's population is going to go through this. Mm-hmm. And it affects all of us. Joey, let's go to the phones because we've got a caller here. It looks like they're calling from Palm Harbor, and it looks like it might be Melissa. Did I get that right, Palm Harbor? Melissa?
Yes, you did.
Hi, thank you. What
Hi,
say
Melissa.
you? You're on the conversation.
Hi, the reason I'm calling in, I just happened to turn on and hear your show. I wanted to share with you, and I hope that your guest, her name is Meredith, am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. I hope, Meredith, that you do some research on this after I tell you my situation. I had a very, very pleasant experience with menopause. In fact, I never went through menopause, and I'm way past the age of menopause. What happened was, in my early 20s, I had endometriosis. And they tried putting me on medication, and I had negative reaction. So then in my early 30s, I had my son. And that seemed to kind of keep it at bay. Then when my son was about 6 years old, I started getting the severe cramping, the issues again. I, again, was diagnosed with endometriosis. And for you guys that don't know what that is, the endocrine is the lining of the cervix. And when a woman has her period, what causes the period is that lining sloughs off. It peels off, and that's what becomes a woman's period. If a woman becomes pregnant, the baby, that's what the baby basically is planted in, is the way I'll put it. So when my son was 6 years old, my endometriosis came back again. So what my gynecologist did was he put me on the lowest dose of birth control possible. And for you guys, what they want to do is they want to simulate a pregnancy because during a 9-month period that the regrowth, the cycle is not happening. So basically, the endometriosis dies is how I'm going to say it, just to make it simple. So we did that, and my symptoms cleared up. Everything was fine. And then I can't remember how it came about because it was quite some years ago. So on the birth control, a woman will take it every single day, 7 days a week for, I can't remember how many months he had me do it, maybe 6 months. So then I said, well, gee, this is really nice, not having a period. Can I just stay on the pill? And he said, yeah, there's no reason you can't. And so I stayed on the pill until my early 50s. And when you get close to early 50s, the pill can increase a woman's...
breast cancer?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So in my early 50s, my doctor took me off the pill. He then tested me for menopause. I had completely gone through menopause. Not one symptom, not one pain, not one hot flash, no depression. And it was wonderful. And I said to my doctor, why don't more women do this? Because a lot of people don't understand, too. The signal from the endocrine gland, which is up in your brain, sends the signal down to a woman's ovaries to start her cycle. And basically that whole thing, so doing this program just keeps it at bay. And for some reason, and the doctor said it's because people don't do their research. Women believe they have to have a period because the blood backs up. Well, no, if you're on this routine, there is no
There's
cycle.
no period.
There's no period. And he said, basically, it's just people's lack of education. And I said, oh, my God, I would think every woman would want to do this. I mean, there's going to be women who are not, they may have issues with birth control or whatever, but I am telling you, I was like, It worked
out, Melissa. It worked out for you, and I want to go ahead and take you off the air now and let Melissa Meredith respond to what you said. Maybe she has something to add to it. But thank you for sharing your story. I'm thinking that there's somebody out there listening that's probably benefiting from what happened to you. So thank you so much, and thank you for listening from Palm Harbor.
Okay, thank you for sharing, and I'm really happy to hear that worked out for you.
She missed menopause,
right?
She missed the whole thing. I mean, what happened there?
I mean, that's a really happy ending to that story.
Yeah, we should all listen. I'm going to ring a bell for you,
right?
Melissa, because
go, girl.
But
you go, girl. That's right. You go, girl.
What is your take?
Put that on a T-shirt. I missed menopause.
Yes. Bye. Okay. So, listeners, tread lightly here, though, because the birth control is not a one-stop shop fit for everyone. It is absolutely an option. Definitely worked out for the listener. I'm really happy that you shared that story. It's something to consider. And yes, talk to your doctors about it. I'm obviously not a physician. I'm a PhD. I will say this. Birth control is definitely an option that's supported by ACOG in terms of symptom management for menopause. There are other issues, that birth control cannot necessarily solve in terms of, for example, testosterone. So birth control is not going to vamp up your sex life. And if you're going through perimenopause and menopause and you have no sexual desire, your libido is really low, and you really feel like your quality of life is just really dipping down, then that's a different issue. So every woman's journey will be different. Birth control is certainly an option. We'll leave it at that, though.
Let me ask you a quick question. So birth doesn't. This is going to show how silly Joey is.
How about how fortunate you are?
Well, no, it's not about me being a man. It's just me not being a doctor.
Well, me neither, man.
Yeah. So let me ask you. But when you take the pill, you are in fact the pill is effective because of hormones, right? The pill contains hormones.
Yeah.
Right. So isn't taking the pill another form of
hormone therapy?
Hormone therapy, essentially?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
But again, it's also not. So I'm talking about, first off, your listener makes a really cool point. What I am talking about, though, is 2026, 2027 options,
yes,
where we're talking about blood panels, pellets, cream, specific types of... No one's in the back mixing up a specific concoction of birth control pill for you. You are taking a certain type of birth control that was created, and if you don't like it, you can take a different type. With certain forms of hormone replacement therapy, it can literally be tailored to you as a person versus me as a person. So it can help, but it's also a little bit riskier, because if you riskier, I mean, in terms of if it doesn't go well, you have to really report it and like talk to your clinician about what's going on with you.
Right.
But yeah, I think that answers your question.
Yes.
Joey, we've got a couple of callers. I would really like to honor these callers. I'm going to go ahead and let them know that we've got just about 5 minutes left in show. So
Let's go.
caller from Seminole, if it looks like it's Marianne. Marianne, if you can give us your question real quick, and then Meredith can respond
hear
to
me?
it. Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead, sweetie. Yes.
It's not really a question. I had very, very painful periods when I was about 13, but no symptoms whatsoever for menopause.
Interesting.
Now, my mother was the same way, so I did not expect it.
Maybe you
So
had
I was lucky that
a
way.
genetic predisposition to being that lucky with that, and you should count your blessings, Marianne. That is a pretty happy story. So we're 2 for 2 with the happy ending stories.
I love your show. Very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening from Seminole. Thank you. We've got another caller from Palm Harbor. And Fred, we saw you there. Fred from Michigan was waiting patiently, and then he dropped off, probably had to go do something. But we hope that we'll hear from him again at some point. Christina, you're on the air from Palm Harbor. Christina, we've got just a couple of minutes. Can you do it quickly?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you so much. Forgive me if it's treated before, but do you have an opinion on systemic hormonal therapy, say in your late 70s, just starting it in your late 70s for a myriad of symptoms?
Thank you, Christina. We'll take it off the air. And Meredith, do you have an opinion on that?
I mean,
On
again, I'm
hormone
not a
replacement
physician.
therapy?
My opinion, based on the clinicians who I interview and work with, because again, health communication, you have to work with practicing physicians. I don't want to speak for them, but yes, I mean, seek out care. No age is too old. You're not going to age out of quality of life management, because there is something too. And then I know we're short on time. There's health span and there's lifespan. We're not, as you said, we're all getting older, and that's a good thing. We are living longer. So do you want to have an excellent lifespan and just live really long, but not be able to do anything? Or do you want to have an excellent health span? And I think what your listener's
So
talking
important.
about is
So important.
she's in her 70s, maybe 80s. Keep going with options to increase your health span rather than just seeking out living longer. Longevity is not necessarily what we're after anymore. We want
Quality.
good
Yeah.
quality
Quality,
years.
yes.
Give me that quality versus that quantity, because if you're living a long time but it ain't a great life because it's not so good for your health or overall, then that's not really a good destination. That's not a good outcome.
That's right.
Oh, Joey, this has been so good. Can we get her to come back a third week?
I was just thinking that.
Can we just do this show with her all the time?
Yeah, right.
Or can we just pitch the powers that be and maybe just get her to do her own show?
Well, I'm going to tell you that in this this conversation,
Start the letter writing campaign, y'all.
In this
we want
conversation,
Meredith.
yeah.
We want Meredith.
yeah. Well, who knows? She might be back in another form.
What do you mean?
Reincarnation.
As a man? I don't know what that
No,
means exactly.
Maybe she might host a show someday.
Oh, gosh, we hope so.
But in this conversation,
Yes.
this very conversation,
Yes.
there's been at least 5 times I've wanted to pursue totally different pathways
Of
that we
course.
could go down.
But we only have
And
an
didn't.
hour, Joey.
So, yeah, we'll
That's
just
the-
have you start coming back every week, and the conversation will be, we'll rename it The Conversation with
make
Meredith
this deal.
Clemens.
I'll bring
make
the
this-
sardines.
I'll make
We'll
yes,
have
and I'll
some
bring the
fun.
saltines, and then we'll have some. I'll do this. I'll make this pitch now. If in fact you do get the opportunity to join our family of programmers here, it'll be just an amazing day, and we will be there for your first show. And if not, if we have to work a little bit harder at it, then maybe a quarterly visit or triannually visit. You know, we just want to. Your voice is so important to our listeners, and we think that you contribute so much mightily to this show. And again, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, y'all. So we are keenly plugged into that sentiment, and,
Yes.
and we're asked to do that here at the radio station. We like to adhere to that,
Yes.
and no finer qualified guest than the one that you're listening to today. So thank you, Meredith, for coming in again.
Thank you. It's
Such
been
a pleasure. Yeah,
Talking to us
absolutely.
about the 3Ms, because most people, when they hear 3M, they think Scotch tape. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and we're
Joey?
not usually sitting around talking about menopause, you and I. And so I think it's a good
No,
thing.
but it's critically
Yeah,
important.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
How many marriages are upended
Oh,
because
yes.
people don't know how to handle it? They don't even talk about it
Yes.
because we're not given the tools in our toolbox.
That's right.
Right.
Box on how to do that.
Absolutely.
Women in particular. It's just, I remember the famous All in the Family episode when Carol O'Connor, Archie told Edith, she told him, Archie, I'm going through menopause. He said, well, I don't know how long it's going to take, but hurry up and get rid of it. Hurry up and go through it.
Yes.
Anyway, I digress.
Yes.
That was as close as I could get to Archie and Edith.
Yes, there we go. So, do we have anything, Meredith, you would like to say?
In closing,
our last-
Meredith, just thank us again. We love to hear your voice.
My closing was thank you. It's been an absolute
excellent.
pleasure.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
The
Thank-
conversation is just a wonderful show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's fun.
So I just want to say very quickly, as always, special thanks to Jessica, our producer and board op engineer. She
And today
is
our
awesome.
announcer.
And by the way, happy birthday, Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
And also Lauren, who's been our call taker. Thank you, Lauren. Back there doing it. She worked. She did a little work today. And then finally, coming up next, bam, it's Sam with Wednesday afternoon music. So thank you.
Thank you guys for listening again. We'll be here next week. We hope that you enjoyed today's show, and we hope that you tune in again next week. As always, you're listening to WMNF Tampa.